So what I do want to show you is just how oh, I'll put this in a package called movie, and let's okay. Okay, all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do the piece where we have to download what we have here. Okay, so for the first thing is we need the URL. So, and that is data sets dot imdbws.com / title basics tsv.gz. And the gz, is that a G? Yeah. The gz is the standard symbol for a gzip file. Again, tsv is a tab separator. So what we would expect, and there's no guarantee of this, but we would expect that this file itself is going to be in gzip format, and that when we unzip it, we will have a text file with tab separated fields. That's what we would expect. Now, there's no guarantee of that. The whole idea of specifying what a file is by its file extension is kind of a throwback to the Stone Age of computers, and again, it's a very fragile thing. You can name a file anything, and that doesn't guarantee it's gonna do the right thing. Okay, in this case, it actually does, but again, we'll have to see. Okay, so the way we've been doing this is now we have we'll create a URL from that URL string, and we need to import the URL class, and then we also need to, again, the way we've been doing, we've just been following what NetBeans suggests on the, again, it offers 3 suggestions. One is to throw it. The other has to do with just wrapping it in a try-catch block. That's generally preferred. Okay, so, this is all what we've done before. So what we can do, let's just to identify it, you'll call it URL input stream. And if we have open stream, then that takes the URL and then opens it, and then there's another. Now here's something that I've done but I haven't pointed out. Well, if we're already in a try catch block, we can add another catch statement. So what that does is, see what's going on here is that if this statement could throw an exception, and in fact this statement could throw what's called a malformed URL exception, pretty well named. One of the nice things that Java utilized was these named exceptions, which just by their name kind of tells you what's happening. So a malformed URL exception means that I've just given it some garbage. So if I put basically what's doing is it's checking this protocol, the text at the beginning of an internet protocol has to be a legitimate protocol. So HTTP, HTTPS, a file is a legitimate one. FTP, there are a few others. But if it's not one of those, then you're going to get this malformed URL exception. In other words, I've given it a string. It's supposed to be a URL, and it just isn't. When I open the input stream, notice IO exception. So opening a stream is input, IO is input output. And so something could go wrong with that. And if something goes wrong, it throws an exception. What could go wrong? Well, you may not be connected to the network. This URL may be a legitimate URL protocol, but at the other end, there may be nothing there. And so you try to open a stream to nothing, you're not going to get anything. If you try to do that, you'll get one of these I/O exceptions. Okay, so now here's the thing. What we're going to get is we're going to get this stream of compressed bytes, but they're compressed in a specific format, and this is a very standard format. Again, gzip. So what Java provides is something called a gzip input stream. And again, as kind of going back to basically this is a philosophy that the Unix file system advocated, which is to have now on the Unix file system you have these little scripts and applications that are very small and atomic. They do one thing, and the idea is that you stream them together. You take the output of one and you give it in the input of the other. You take the output of that and you have it in the input of the other. And that's basically what's happening here. So here we have this input stream, and what the gzip input stream takes as its constructor another input stream. It could be coming from anywhere. It could be coming from a file. It could be something that you're just typing in. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's unlikely you could be typing in something in a legitimate gzip format, but again, that's the idea. It doesn't know or care where this input stream is coming. I just say, okay, this gzip input stream object is going to take its inputs from this stream right here, and this stream is going to get it from this URL, again, assuming all that exists. And then the final piece is, okay, now what this is going to do, I'm not entirely sure, but we don't know whether this is, we'd have to kind of look at the innards to know whether or not it's being buffered. Again, as we talked earlier, when you're doing large amounts of data, you want to make sure you buffer it. You don't want to just kind of grab all of it and dump it at once. So if I have a bunch of things coming in as input streams, there's a buffered input stream I can put all this through. Oops, not image, buffered input stream. Bless you. Okay, so I'm going to take this gzip input stream and I'm going to put it into my buffered input stream. And so what the buffered input stream is going to do is again, it's just getting this stream of data from somewhere, and it's going to buffer it. You know, in other words, it's going to, instead of just dumping it all out to whatever's out there, it'll save it to some kind of a buffer, probably an array or some sort, and then when that gets full, it'll flush it all out. Okay, and then now, because these are all input streams. Remember, input stream is basically an interface that all of these implement. So any input stream can be accepted by my scanner. Okay, so now I can take so what's happening is, again, this URL input, this is grabbing the stream from this URL, if it can, passing it to this gzipped input stream, which is going to take what it does and unzip it according to the gzip format. That's going to pass it to this buffered input stream, which in turn is going to pass it to the scanner. And hopefully, what's left is text. And if it's not text, again, scanner will blow up, because scanner, you know, you feed data into, if we were to feed the gzip into a scanner would complain and throw an exception. And just to make sure, we want to close everything, especially the buffered one, because that'll make sure everything gets closed. All right, now if we do this, well, just as sort of a test, this should actually go fairly quickly. Okay, so we didn't get any errors. So that meant that it was able to grab the the data from the URL and stuff it into the input stream. Again, nobody complained along the way. So, but Scanner still, and Scanner seemed to be okay with this. I'm not sure exactly where Scanner will throw its stuff. So, but let's sort of see what we get. And let's just read in what we have line by line. Now, it actually, what you'll find with this is actually the bottleneck in this whole process is going to be this print statement right here. That's actually what's going to take the most time. Everything else is fairly. Even though this is a fairly hefty file, I've typically been able to read it in about 30 seconds if I don't print everything out. If you print everything out, it just takes forever. But fortunately, we won't be doing that. But let's just sort of see what we're going to get here. Okay, so what we're getting are a whole bunch of files. In fact, if you look at the date is in this column here, and as you see, they're fairly early. Here, we can just sort of stop this. And if you go back to the very top, what you see is actually the first line is like the heading. So the first line tells you what's in the various columns. So this is their internal unique ID, but this is the title type, which corresponds with that enum that we were talking about. So notice that a title type is going to come in as a lowercase short, and you're going to need to turn it into a title type of an uppercase. Okay, they have they have primary title and original title. Primary title is the main one that we'll work with. I think what that has to do with the original. Sometimes you have a movie and it'll have they'll have a title and then they'll change the title. Like evidently with this Birds of Prey movie. Are you familiar with Harley Quinn and all that sort of stuff? No? Guys need to be up on pop culture. What's with you? There must be something else which is taking up all of your valuable time. I can't imagine what that is. But, well, there was this very popular character called Harley Quinn, and they decided there was this movie that bombed called Suicide Squad, but she was the most popular character, so they decided to make a movie where she was the main character, and they called it Birds of Prey, but what they found is people didn't know what that was about, so they changed the title to Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, so something like that. So that I think is one of the things going on. Okay, so here's the column, here's the is adult thing, again, just sort of skip over that. Start year, no, the earliest one, 1892. So they've been doing movies for a while. What the start year and end year has to do with is that because they also have TV shows, so you have a TV show that'll be the start year and end year. For movies, it's just the start year. Runtime in minutes, that's something that we want. And then here's where again, some of these early ones, they didn't have genres, but notice that, okay, their character for null, this is basically their null character that we see there. And the very last column in all this should be a list of these genres, which are like comedy and drama and adventure and action and things like that. And according to their description, there should be at least up to 3 of those in a comma-separated thing. And for yesterday, there were these comma-separated strings there, and today there aren't. Today they're all nulls. I have no idea why. I mean, I think somebody screwed up in building this file. But that shouldn't affect us, because what we want is the genre, which is still there. Okay, notice here a whole bunch of short. A lot of the early ones were shorts because. Okay, but now here we're getting into some movies. Okay, so there's a movie those are the ones we're going to be interested in. So the ones that aren't, we can kind of skip over. A movie title. Did they clobber the running minutes? Is this?
So the first one is 1 minute only?
Let's see, start year and year, something like that. Some of these early ones were, this is like 1890 something. I mean, they were just kind of starting out. But I'm looking here, and it looks like they've clobbered the runtime as well. Darn it. Look at all these nulls. That was not the case yesterday. So, when we get up into the 1940s, for example, well, I guess we'll, all right, so instead of just do okay, so here's how you split on a tab, right? So, trying to see. Yeah, and it might be that in some of the early ones they don't know, or that they don't have a running time listed, but it looks, I'm not sure if it looks like they might be coming back. Yeah, I think I'm seeing some run times there. Okay, so as I said, even if we're splitting each one, which is, if I don't print it out, okay, I'm still gonna read each line, but I'm not gonna print it out. And at least the other day, it was only taking about 20 or 30 seconds over the network. And all the time is on that printing there, so you just want to be careful about that when you're dealing with large files. Yeah, so in 15 seconds it read the whole thing, and not only did that, it split all the lines. So the printing each line is what took all the time, because there was so much data there.